Hello, Contrarians listeners. Here we are, reaching you from the United States of Dystopia, formerly known as the United States of America, a land where masked men have been empowered by the government to harass, kidnap, and exile immigrants, regardless of their immigration status. A land where the people in power encourage hatred and cruelty toward minorities. A land where a normal person, a person with empathy, a person with basic human decency, can feel overwhelmed by all the bullshit the current administration keeps throwing at us.
So that's why we're here. That's what we're doing with these special episodes. We're here to tell you, no, you're not crazy. It really is that bad. And also to tell you, you're not alone. We're here with you. And maybe, hopefully, make you feel a little better by talking about good movies that are relevant to this nightmare we're living through.
So welcome to Fresh Immigrants, Rotten Fascists, a new Contrarian series. Today, we're going to be talking about A Face in the Crowd. Hello, welcome to the fourth installment of FIRF, Fresh Immigrants, Rotten Fascists, and Alex have to start this recording with a clarification, what do you call it, a correction, right? I'm going to issue a correction because I said with a fair amount of confidence in the last episode, whenever A Face in the Crowd has come up, I was like, I read the short story and I've heard what people say about the movie, so I'm pretty sure that this is about a president, a populist president. Not quite.
No, but it's still extremely relevant to.
Oh yeah,
today.
Yeah. No, if it wasn't, we would have had to, replace it with something else. But no, thankfully, It's still like the themes of the book. What I remember are there. I just at some point, because this is not even that. Oh, it's a president or a politician in the book, and they changed it in the movie. No, it's still the same. I guess my memory of it was that he gets involved in politics, and that in my mind made him a career politician instead. But no, this is about an entertainer, and we'll get into it. We'll get into Andy Griffith's first movie ever. I didn't know that. But A Face in the Crowd from well-renowned and somewhat controversial director Elia Kazan. Never know how to pronounce his name. And I watched some of the Criterion special features, and different people pronounce his name differently, so I really don't know. Do you know anything from Elia Kazan? Have you watched anything from him before?
I know the name, but I can't think of it. I also blew my fucking joke I was going to lead off with because I just started agreeing with you. I was going to act confused, and then the punchline was going to be that I watched Faces in the Crowd, the Mila Jovovich film from 2012, and I was going to, So I blew that.
Let this be a reminder.
It's my own fault.
Bits must be carefully planned.
Yes. Who knows? It's a 0%er, so maybe one day we'll circle back to it. But Elia Kazan, I know the name. I don't believe I've seen anything else he's done. But yeah, Andy Griffith. Certainly not Matlock or
the old man from Waitress.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say what's his character on the Andy Griffith Show, but then it's called the Andy Griffith Show. So
this is, before any of that, right? It's not just his first movie or his first screen appearance.
Andy Taylor, that's his name, and then of course Opie is Ron Howard, and Barney Fife is Don Knotts on that. Yeah, and anyone who lived during or had a childhood similar to Julio and I's knows the theme song. But yeah, that show started in 1960, so it was after this film.
Okay, this is him making an impression and never doing anything like this again. Maybe, I don't know. Whenever I hear about Andy Griffith, nobody says, oh yeah, that guy that plays a maniac. Instead, it's just like, oh yeah, the sheriff, or like you said, Matlock. Matlock is how I know him. And I think I mentioned that in our Waitress episode. That's, we got syndication of Matlock in Peru. So I was like, oh yeah, it's that old man lawyer. He's quippy and he's funny. And that was Andy Griffith for me. Man, it would have been such a shock to the system to watch this back when I was a kid.
I own the Criterion for On the Waterfront, but I've never watched it. And Streetcar Named Desire, I forgot that was Elia Kazan, but I've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen those two. I think those two are the only other movies of his that I've seen.
And since we're a bit more loosey-goosey on here, I can call out that he directed a film called Splendor in the Grass. One of my favorite porn parody titles as ever is Splendor in the Ass. It's not very creative, but it gets the point across.
Sometimes the simplest joke is the most effective one.
Yeah.
Just ask Lonesome Rhodes.
Ew.
Back in my little old town of Riddle, we had a cousin named Harry. We all called him Cousin Harry because he was always running someplace. Till one day he fell down a flight of steps and broke his fool neck. We put a sign on his grave says he's in such a hurry he just couldn't wait to get here.
All right, where to start, Alex? This is a obviously well-regarded movie. It's fresh on the tomato meter. I think it's at 84%. It has a Criterion release, as I alluded to. I own it. I finally got to open and watch it for the first time for this recording. What did you know about A Face in the Crowd going in? Because I know this is your first time watch too, if you knew anything.
No, I was about to say also in my research, it sounds like this movie was met with mixed results, mixed reviews even at the time, but has certainly become more appreciated as time has gone on. And in 1957, I don't know if folks were willing to entertain the idea that, you know, something like this could be so true and they could be so easily manipulated as the masses. But yeah, 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I didn't know anything about this. I like Walter Matthau a lot. And
Yes.
So I was excited about that. And with Andy Griffith, we already established what we based that off of, like our knowledge and whatnot. And so I wasn't sure what to expect and was obviously a bit surprised by it all. But I mean, there's the themes in this are not just relevant today, but I was thinking of The Simpsons with Gabbo when they thought the mic was off and he called kids the little SOBs. And then, you know, it led to this huge thing of his downfall as a TV star. And so, yeah, I didn't know much, but was quite taken by this movie.
I knew of its existence because I read that short story. And that short story was part of a collection that was specifically short stories that having adapted into movies. So everything that was in that book was something that eventually was made into a movie. So I'm pretty sure that that's where the short story that 2001 was based on, the short story that Minority Report was based on. I don't think I even finished that because it's a big book. In short story collections, they wear me out because you're basically starting from scratch every 20, 30 pages. So that can be a little exhausting. But I remember reading the story and liking it and thinking, all right, I'll get around to watching the movie at some point. And then when I got the email from Criterion telling me that A Face in the Crowd had been released as part of the collection, I was like, all right, well, next time there's a sale, I'll get it. And I did. And that was back in 2019. I was looking at the booklet to see when it was released in 2019. So this is, you know, towards the tail end of the first Trump presidency. And that little fact is relevant because at the end of the essay that opens, that is featured on the booklet, I'm just going to read you that final paragraph.
Yeah.
So this is from critic April Wolf, and the essay is called American Character, and it goes on and talks a lot about the movie. It's pretty interesting read. But then what made me look and see when this had been issued was that the final paragraph where she says, to call Face in the Crowd prescient wouldn't quite be accurate. That would suggest that the American phenomenon, Schulberg's script, and Kazan's film capture hadn't been with us from the beginning. This is a country where two-bit entertainers have frequently joined the political class, buoyed by name recognition and charisma alone, and it's perhaps the only developed nation in the world where this happens so often. Americans today might like to think we are onto bilkers and crooks like Rhodes, that we can see a con for a con. In 2010, Patricia Neal, that's the actress that plays the main character here in the movie, sat down at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood for a post-screening discussion of A Face in the Crowd. The audience was asked, how many of you seeing Lonesome Rhodes on TV would trust him or be drawn to him? The response was only a smattering of applause. Later that year, season 10 of The Apprentice premiered on NBC.
Jesus.
So, you know, we already knew that we had already elected a reality TV star, among many other things, to the presidency. I guess that's my final defense for myself as to why it wasn't that far-fetched to think, oh yeah, Lonesome Rhodes, at some point he's going to become president. So I'm watching the movie. I'm waiting for it to happen. And halfway through the movie, finally politics start taking over the story. I'm like, here we go. It's going to happen. But no, Schulberg and Kazan had other ideas. I guess, Alex, we can set the stage with some Rotten Tomatoes quotes, and then let's do the synopsis first, then Rotten Tomatoes quotes, and then we just go all out spoilers. How does that sound?
That works for me.
Okay, well, you are the synopsis man, so that's your task.
This is Radio KGRK, the voice of Northeast Arkansas, bringing you its morning feature, A Face in the Crowd. Whose face? Why, it could be yours. Or yours, because people are fascinating wherever you find them.
Ambitious young radio producer Marcia Jeffries, this is Patricia Neal, finds a charming rogue named Larry Lonesome Rhodes, Andy Griffith, in an Arkansas drunk tank and puts him on the air. Soon, Rhodes' local popularity gets him an appearance on a television show in Memphis, which he parlays into a national network stardom that he uses to endorse a presidential candidate for personal gain. But the increasingly petulant star's ego, arrogance, and womanizing threaten his rise to the top.
As you're watching the movie, Alex, did you find yourself drawing a parallel with anybody today?
Yeah, I think the one that came to mind quickest, because it's been kind of in the headlines recently, is Theo Von, because one, he has a bunch of made up stories and expressions that endear him to a certain populace, similar to Lonesome. And then also, he's now, the headlines are him talking about regretting endorsing Trump, or this isn't what I voted for, whatever he's saying. And it's just like, and the right-wing grifters and podcasters, him and Joe Rogan and that whole, for lack of a better term, biodome of influencers now trying to act like they, didn't know this was what it was going to be. But Theo Von immediately, because the whole reason that Lonesome is so appealing to like middle America in this is because he's just like me, and that's, I think, my understanding. I've never found Theo Von particularly entertaining, but that's the whole thing with him, is that he's just like me. And so, and he in no small part helped Donald Trump get elected to the seat of president. So that's who immediately came to mind. I don't think Theo Von can sing or play the guitar though, and Lonesome's pretty good at that.
Yeah, Andy Griffith is, at the very least, you can say that he has some talent. So I can understand the initial attraction from audiences, right? Oh, this guy, he's charismatic enough, and he can play, he can sing. So I understand. I don't have a problem understanding the initial point of contact between him and an audience that would make him grow, right? But I'm glad you mentioned Joe Rogan, because I thought you were about to say Joe Rogan, and then you went with someone else. I don't even know who that guy is. Theo Von. I've probably seen the headlines. Is he the guy that got mad because they used a video of him?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah, I thought Rogan, again, Rogan doesn't, like, as far as I know, doesn't dance or sing or play the guitar, but the idea of this person that just gets behind a microphone in front of a camera and suddenly has so much influence over people that are very easily influentiable, And I know that's just like, maybe those are the biggest names, or at least the most common names for people like you and me. But overall, speaking of this, like, what do they call it? They call it the manosphere now. That's like the classy name that they have for it. But basically,
I have not heard that.
I haven't heard it, but I've seen it in print. So, it's just a matter of time before we hear it.
Yes.
But that's, I guess, the rebranding, because that makes it sound a little more respectable. So it's a manosphere, man. But I mean, there's so many people like Lonesome, not in the particulars, but as far as like the big picture of, somebody that people find charismatic and they just eat up everything they put out. And then that person finds themselves wielding so much power. And I think that history has proven that they're not ready for it. Either they're not ready for it, or they don't care and how they wield it. So we'll get into talking about Lonesome, during this recording, and whether you or I feel that there is any sort of humanity in him, if at any point he's sympathetic. Because I think that turn that's happening right now with some of those people in the real world, that's them trying to be sympathetic now. Yeah.
Too late.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but one of the good things about technology today is that everything is recorded. Nothing goes away. So, all right, let's jump over to Rotten Tomatoes info, some quotes, the consensus before we get into the movie proper. As you said, 89% the tomato meter, 93% the popcorn meter. So audience is just lifting this score. The critics' consensus are raucous Andy Griffith channels the corruptive influence of celebrity in Elia Kazan's A Face in the Crowd, a prescient critique of American media. Then just a few critics here with fresh tomatoes. Ken Hankey, haven't quoted Ken Hankey in a while, from Mountain Express, Asheville, North Carolina, says the remarkable thing about A Face in the Crowd is the way in which this 50-year-old film only seems to become only more relevant with the passing of time. Agreed.
It's true.
David Vizanson from filmcritic.com says, next time you feel like you're getting fooled again by a demagogue, rent this movie and get centered. Can you imagine if it was that easy? We just organize public free screenings of A Face in the Crowd all across the US. That's it. And then everybody wakes up. Jay Hoberman from The Village Voice says, A Face in the Crowd has never ceased to be relevant. Sad but true. Kimberly Gadet from Doodle says, a fascinating early look at the unholy alliance between politics and entertainment, the corporations controlling it all. With Griffith's wild performance, even though the film has its flaws, it's worth viewing. And finally, Dilys Powell from Sunday Times UK says, A Face in the Crowd is one of the few genuinely political assaults the cinema has made, and it belongs to a different era. It savages, it explodes, it is the guided missile. Alex, well, peek behind the curtain for listeners. This is the first part of our recording tonight, and the final movement of the recording is us recording an after hours for the Patreon channel for One Battle After Another. And I think I can draw some parallels between that quote and this movie and the PTA movie that just came out like a month ago or so, as far as savage attacks on politics and the state of the world. So, I don't think that we're all gone yet, but I can see how it feels like you have movies like this one that are really trying to make a point, whether they make it well or not. We can discuss the quality of the movie, and then there's a lot of fluff in between until the next one comes along. So I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the gusto, like the no fucks given of the storytelling here in a way.
Yeah.
And I guess that would be my first question, Alex. Do you feel that this movie, and maybe this is why it wasn't well received or had mixed reviews at first, do you think it comes too close to demeaning its audience? Like, not even condescending to them, but just straight up saying, you're all idiots.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, in 57, I think there was a time period where that could have worked and this movie would have been like wildly more successful. But I think it was still way too early. And there was way too much optimism still. Well, now, like a movie like this would be like you and I and folks like us would watch it and be like, yep. And then the other half of the country would be like, I don't get it.
Well, they'll be deeply offended.
No. They would think it was about, you and I.
Oh yeah, you're right. Lonesome Rhodes would be like Jon Stewart or something.
Yes.
That Donald Trump doesn't give a about even looking like he gives a
And I think that you can make, and you should make, the point that corporations trying to influence politics and entertainers influencing politics. I mean, yes, that happens on both sides of the aisle. But there is, as I was watching the movie, that was a thought that kept coming back up. I'm like, man, there is just such contempt for the population of America in the way that they're depicted, right? Because like I said, Eddie Griffith, Lonesome Rhodes, I get the initial, this is fun. I'll listen to this dude on the radio or whatever. But I don't find him, once he becomes a bigger star, I don't find him particularly engaging. But the movie tells you, well, most of America would. And I guess reality has eventually proven the movie right? Yeah. Maybe if you find somebody like our current president or so many of the people around him, you find them engaging, you find them charismatic, inspirational, you probably would find Lonesome Rhodes to share the same qualities. But I think it's clear that Kazan and Schulberg and Andy Griffith, they don't, right? I mean, how do you read that the portrayal of Lonesome Rhodes? Do you find them at any point somebody worth engaging with? Because some of the critics describe him as a monster, and I kind of tend to agree.
I mean, he's obviously like a narcissist, and he's someone up until that point who's made it through life just kind of coasting off of other people. He's kind of got the Joker origin story where you don't really know what is true from his past and what's not. He doesn't like his mom. We know that much. But yeah, he's a protagonist who has really no redeeming quality, which I know it can often be a difficult thing for audiences to engage with, especially 70 years ago. But I find that fascinating. I find this story interesting. But yeah, he is a monster because he knows. Is that what makes him a sociopath? That he knows that he's manipulating all these people and he doesn't care?
I guess so, right? But
Yeah.
is that clear from the beginning? Did you have a stretch of time in the movie where you're like, all right, this guy he's a little much, but he's not a bad person. And then there comes a turn when you're like, oh no, he's
No.
really bad, or he's turned really bad.
When I saw him eating a slice of pie just barehanded, I was like, this guy's bad news.
The reddest red flag, no table manners. I felt that there were a couple of times where the movie was maybe trying to tell me that this dude has a soul, and don't be too hard on him because this is all weighing on him as well. That midnight call, the first time that he calls Marsha in the middle of the night because he's feeling lonely in his big suite on the top floor of the hotel where he's living now, and she comes in, and he's been with other women before, and he just gives her the whole, and that's actually the speech where it ends with him proposing to her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel when you saw that scene as he was opening up his heart in a way? Did you believe it? Did you buy that? Oh, but maybe there's more to him.
I felt like, what's her name? Marcia. Because I did believe him. And then when he got off the plane with that high school girl, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, man, no.
I agree. And that's where unlike Marcia, that's where I said, no more. You will not fool me again.
Yeah, she kept going back.
That might be the hardest sell of the movie. And I understand why, things play out the way they do. But even harder to understand that so many people in America would fall for this guy is the fact that this woman would feel herself so attracted to him, so linked to him that she just can't leave him. And again, you look in the real world, and yeah, that happens all the time to men and women. You find yourself trapped in a relationship with someone that everybody else around you goes like, how, why? I don't get it, right? And you need somebody like Walter Matthau maybe to come in and just shake you out of it.
The best.
But still, did you find yourself maybe losing some respect for Marsha as the movie went on? And she,
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. But shit, I don't know. She was in love, man. And that's one thing that I've realized as I've gotten older is that can take on many different shapes and forms. And sometimes, you're just so blinded by the situation. But it got to a point where fooled me once type thing. He was already married, and then he left, and he told you he was finalizing his divorce, and he came back with another girl, and it's like, all right, maybe time to see what's going on the other side of the tracks.
maybe it's time to pay Walter Matthau a call and see what he has to offer, what ideas he has for.
And he's so
other shows.
nice to her too.
Young Walter Matthau, man, never seen him this young. I think I've only seen old Walter Matthau.
Well, I mean, he was like 45 or something, I think I read in this. So
Comparatively.
well, I was about to say, even then, I think he always just kind of had this face. If he was 7 years old, I'd expect him to look exactly the same.
With the glasses.
Yeah, and the cheeks.
He is great. I don't want to undersell the quality of the performance. I want to say like he's adorable, just with the glasses and the quiet pining for Marsha, because you can tell pretty early on that he cares for her, and then as the movie goes on, it becomes more and more obvious. I was glad that he was there because it gave me somebody to 100% root for.
Yeah.
I knew that he was on the right side. And when he reveals late in the movie that he's writing a book that's going to be an expose, it was like, fuck yeah, somebody's going to do something. That's how I feel today whenever I hear anybody doing something even moderately disrespectful towards the current administration. I'm like, yes, somebody did something. There's a Walter Matthau there about to publish a book that maybe 5 people are going to read. But going back before we move on to like the political side of it, or the fully political side of it, just going back to the idea of not showing respect to the audience, which is not that, but there is just the depiction of Lonesome Rhodes' audience. They seem like cattle, right? They seem like sheep. There's no glamour to the. I mean, that's stuff that you see today also on viral videos and whatever. Just when you see people just losing their mind over personalities, it's just there's no dignity almost. You just run and you just want to see them, and that's how you see it here, just throughout the whole nation. And early on in the movie, when he starts pulling his stunts, and he does something like he gets his audience to bring their dogs to the sheriff's house. Is it sheriff?
Yeah,
right?
then his boss, so he sends all the kids to his pool.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for him to go like, I can shoot anybody. I can shoot somebody on 5th Street and nobody would do anything. I was like, he has that power. He's viral. And then to bring it, all the way, it's not even full circle, but even at the end when the audience turns on him, it's like mindless, right? It's hilarious on 2 levels. One, the thing that brings him down, it's kind of tame by today's standards, right? Like the things that he's saying. But that's enough to offend the good people that were listening to the show. And then they call the station and just to see them. I mean, I don't think that moment doesn't read to me as a redemption of his audience. It's just more like, well, he said the wrong thing, so now they're going to turn on him, but they're going to latch on to the next guy that comes along, which in fact we meet. We see in one scene that his ex-agent is already prepping like the next guy. So did you feel that way too? Did you feel that there is absolutely no redemption for the American public in this movie?
Why, he's a monster. I'm going to call the station and give him a piece of my mind.
It kind of feels that way because what this movie tells you is that the powers that be, or those controlling things over you, have you outsmarted, and you can try to fight it, but they're just going to find the next thing of what you want. And that's obviously a stance that a lot of people on both sides of the fence still have to this day, of like the media is controlled and they tell you what they want you to. That's why fucking advertising is the way it is. So to some regard, I mean, right now, yes, we're cooked as people. Like there's no coming back. And I'm not even necessarily talking like just wholly on a political spectrum, but like with the social media and no one wanting to actually like contribute or work, and people and there being no reason to want to contribute or work because, home ownership's so difficult, insurance is a scam, that type of shit. So I think that this movie tells the Vince McMahon thing of, you don't like what you think you like what I tell you to like. It is a very cynical message, that's for damn sure. Not saying it's wrong.
Yep.
It's cynical though.
It's been proven right.
Yeah.
I think that people back in the 50s, they would have said, this is too cynical. And then today, like, that's it.
This movie sure is optimistic.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, because the second level in which that ending, that climax is funny, is that, right, one is, it's so tame and they turn on him. But then 2, today, we know that he could have said worse things and they would have found a way to spin it, or people just wouldn't have cared, right? I mean, I remember where I was standing when the whole, I know this is main feed, but I'm also about to quote something that is like, real happened, but the whole like grabbing by the pussy debacle, like the big scandal when it happened, right? I was at work and our boss, who we mentioned here and there, somebody who we knew who was not a bad guy, but was a hardcore Republican. So I guess eventually, that kind of makes you a bad guy. So he was like destroyed by it, right? You catch your political idol saying something like that, something so distasteful and just plain wrong, and you lose them, you lose the people, and without the people you can't win an election. And that was it. And so I remember our boss walking around the office going like, that was it, it's over. It was not over. America fucking forgot in like 2 weeks, if that. We moved on to the next thing. It
should have been, and there's probably there definitely was stuff before then that should have done it, but yes exactly, that unbelievable.
But that's it makes the ending of this movie feel like absolute fantasy. And I don't know. I mean, maybe you could say that it wouldn't have happened in the 50s.
Trump could come out tomorrow. There could be a tape of him calling all of his followers idiots and mouth breathers and, all this shit, saying things 10 times worse than what Lonesome says here. And people would just be like, oh, well,
That's him. That's just how he talks.
We are that.
Yes, we are. He's just saying it to own the libs. Don't take him seriously.
He's doing performance art. It's ironic.
Yeah. To provide context, I guess, as we record this, it's October 15th. We are deep into the government shutdown by now. And I don't know how much attention you were paying to headlines, Alex, but one of the latest scandals that will probably be forgotten in a week or so was that some newspaper leaked the private chats of a group of young Republicans. I'm not saying Republicans are young. It's actually like an organization, the Young Republicans. And so a bunch of, I don't know how many pages, like 200 pages of this private chat. And it's filled with racist remarks and jokes praising Hitler and horrible, awful stuff. Credit where credit's due. From what I read, there's a lot of Republican congressmen and senators and just people in power that are decrying that and denouncing it and say this is 100% wrong. And they made a bunch of people resign over it, people that were in that chat. Obviously the Democrats are also doing that. But here comes Vice President J.D. Vance to say that, that's nothing compared to some of the things that the Democrats are texting or whatever. So he couldn't even bring himself to condemn that. You're
telling me that dude's a giant pussy? I can't believe that.
Yeah. And he knows that, it's just a matter of time. Now, recent history has proven that Americans will just willfully forget about it. If it goes against their candidate, against their party, for the most part, they will just get over it. They won't take it personally, and they just move on. They'll hold the line until the next big headline comes along, and then we just move on. I am terrified that the Epstein files are eventually not going to be a big deal. It's like the past few weeks, maybe a month or so, it seems to have been something that refuses to die, and that's good, right? People keep bringing it up, and going down a rabbit hole here, but some people are already trying to act like it's not a big deal, as though it wasn't one of the major fucking pillars of his whole campaign. Yes, yeah, but I mean, it's related to this movie because this movie, it's like I said, it's utopia. That all you need is like that one sound clip, like 30 seconds of your candidate saying something awful about the people that they're supposed to be serving, and that's enough to be their undoing. And I saw some critics, some quotes saying that it already felt like it was way too optimistic back when the movie came out. But today, 50 years later, it just feels like an impossibility. And maybe it could have happened in the 50s, but today, like in 2025, I've lost all faith in anything like that happening. Like audio is not going to be the thing that's going to take down any politician. It has to be like, I don't know. They literally have to be caught like on video doing something absolutely vicious, and then maybe if everybody moves quickly, if everybody gets outraged enough, then maybe that can be like the end of it. But that's not,
not so sure.
Yeah, and even then, who knows? There are always going to be people that are like, oh, that's an overreaction. It's not that bad. You guys are blowing it out of proportion. Or it's being like some of the people, I was reading the comments from some of the people that were in that group chat, the Young Republicans group chat, and the people they were quoting, they were like, oh, there's no excuse for that language. I apologize, blah, blah, blah. But there was one that was like, it is a little suspicious, the timing and how they got that information that's supposed to be private, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, that should belong in your apology. You're apologizing. That's it. Apologize and shut the fuck up. Disappear forever.
Yeah.
But that is not how it works, It probably never worked. I am Walter Matthau just watching it all burn. Writing my book, recording my podcast, trying
having
to make
a pretty
difference.
Awesome way of ordering your drink, having the vermouth just blow a kiss to the gin.
Are you gonna use it? Are you gonna use that?
Oh, I would never drink that, but yeah. Next time I'm in Vegas, I'll get a cranberry vodka and be like, just let the cranberry blow a kiss to the vodka.
And then the bartender just points at you, and goes, A face in the crowd?
That'd be epic.
Hello, Mr. Miller. A long time no see, it's usual.
Wake up there,
And just let the vermouth blow a kiss at the gin.
I was trying to remember what I was going to say, but before we did Green Grappler last night, Oracle was talking about that, about the leaked group chats and stuff. And he was like, I was thinking about if the Green Grappler group chat ever got leaked. And then like, he quickly like came around. He's like, and then I realized there's really nothing bad in there. I was like, yeah, dude. Like me and Joe were both like, did you confuse it with something else? We've never said anything really bad in there. But anyway, yes, it's all bad and things that should, I mean, I'd always go to Howard Dean and the
Yes.
the thing that cost him cost that dude a presidential candidacy. Not necessarily that he would have won, but that lost him the Democratic primary. And yeah, now you can just be openly racist and sexist. And
what movie is it? Eurotrip that samples the Howard Dean yell? Because that's how I found out about it. Because you told me you recognized it in the movie, and then you're like, "Have you heard of this guy?"
I don't remember that, but yeah, I remember when that happened. Like it was just like everywhere on the news, rah! Like the noise over and over again. That it's not rah, it's a yeah. It's one of those. That's more of it. But
we're gonna take California, and we're gonna take,
and then we're gonna go all the way to the White House. And now, yeah, idiots with their phones screaming and get elected to office. Anyway, yeah, message still relevant. Depressing, valid though. I agree that Walter Matthau is kind of me, of Steve Martin's character in The Simpsons. What was it was the sanitation commissioner, Ray something. Ray Patterson was his name, the sanitation commissioner. That is similar to this and it's relevant. Are you familiar with this episode, Julio, where Homer runs for sanitation commissioner?
No.
He runs, his campaign slogan is "Can't someone else do it?"
Oh, yeah, I think you brought it up in a different episode. Maybe not FIRF, but
it's relevant because it's just, he talks about, don't worry about your problems. They're going to be someone else's to deal with, which, where have you heard that before? But anyway, when Ray Patterson, they have to bring him back, he has this line, Steve Martin, that I think of pretty much like Walter Matthau's whole outlook in this and how I view everything today. It's so gratifying to leave you wallowing in the mess you made. You're screwed. Thank you. Bye.
Yes, I'll take whatever satisfaction I can get under these circumstances. Speaking of Matthau, though, and that final, that third act and the way that things happen, removing ourselves a little bit about the politics of it all and just kind of looking at the story, I was wondering, I'm a little divided about the how things pan out for Marcia. And I guess you could say, well, this was the 50s, sign of the times, right? She is, I mean, you could say traditionally, right? Lonesome Rhodes is a villain, which means that she's the hero. And Walter Matthau would be the sidekick, right? He comes in and out, fighting for her, but it's her story. She gets the big moment. She is the one that brings him down. She makes the call to expose his audio, and she makes the move. The climax is hers, right? So in a way, you can say, yes, the movie puts her in a position, especially during the second half, where you're just pulling your hair out and like, wake up. Why do you keep enabling this guy? And in fact, she has a pretty awesome scene with Walter Matthau, where Walter Matthau tells her that, in a way, he tells her that he's disappointed in her, right? What does he say? You're his locker room. Like, God, that's brutal.
Yeah, after the fight. Yeah, he goes off on her, man.
But he's right. And I was like, you're right, Walter Matthau. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable that you're mansplaining to this woman everything that she's doing wrong, even though you're right. But then I'm like, that's okay, because I know how movies work, and I know that this is just a way for her to really kick ass at the end. She's going to bring Lonesome down, which she does, right? But then Walter Matthau comes in again to tell her one more time, like, what she needs to do. It's like, it's not enough that you brought him down. Now we have to go face him. I'm going to bring you over there. I'll walk with you, but you have to tell him that it was you so that he can be completely out of your life. And I was like, okay, well, Would have been nicer if she had done it on her own, but all right. So then they go to the hotel, and she basically breaks up with him, with Lonesome, tells him, I did it. I'm the one that ruined you. And I'm like, all right, well, at least she gets the last word. But no, because while she goes to the elevator, Walter Matthau gives the final speech of the movie. And And I was like, it's great. And I completely identify with everything he was saying. I really love it, actually, because he tells Lonesome Rhodes what's going to happen. And it's...
You ain't shit, pretty much.
But at the same time, you ain't shit, but also somebody else is going to come along. So things haven't changed. You are changing.
And you have nothing else. You're going to have to come crawling back for pennies on the dollar, my friend.
Yeah, you're going to be like last year's story, and then eventually nobody's going to remember you. And there's going to be somebody else taking your place. And that is satisfying as far as Lonesome Rhodes goes. It's also pretty depressing as far as what it says about the American public, right? But it is... Walter Matthau gets all the big moments. And I was like, man, poor Marcia, poor Patricia Neal. He's giving this big speech and she's just like crying in the elevator. Did that throw you off, or were you... Because eventually I was just like, it's the 50s. That's just how they made movies. Like the dude had to like come in and, put in the final period there. Because she couldn't have done it by herself. I think that's it. The trope of the stories back then.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of it from that perspective. I just thought of it as Vanderbilt 44. Is that what he was calling him?
Yes, yeah.
Like I just thought that was him. Like, you know what, motherfucker, I'm probably never going to see you again in my life, so I want to tell you how I feel about you before I get out of here. So I wasn't feeling about it the way you were, but not saying what you said is invalid.
Well, women listening to this show, I know you exist. Let us know. Did it rub you the wrong way that Walter Matthau kind of like took over the climax over there? Would it be better if Patricia Neal? Because it doesn't even end there. Then they leave and they're taking the cab, and Lonesome Rhodes is screaming like a maniac from the top of the building, and Patricia Neal still feels something. She's afraid that he's gonna jump. And Walter Matthau has to calm her down and go like, don't worry, he's not going to do it. He's not a jumper.
Yeah, he says like, I don't take him for suicide.
Yeah. Which is great. I want more of Walter Matthau, but man, poor Patricia Neal, like she just goes through the ringer, and I just wanted her to be a little more triumphant at the end, considering that we're already like in full fantasy mode, right?
Yeah.
That's just a minor observation. I don't think that it devalues the movie, but maybe... Again, if a woman told me, oh, yeah, I kind of soured it on me because she was originally such a strong character, and then by the end, she can barely get through the ending, if not for Walter Matthau being there holding her hand, I would be like, yeah, I can see your point. So I get it. It's still very satisfying at the same time as it's sad.
Well, if I'd only left him in that jail in Pickett.
Marcia, stop it. You were taken in just like we were all taken in. But we get wise to him. That's our strength.
Switching gears, Alex, a little bit to Kazan and Schulberg, actually, too. Mm-hmm. There's something I knew and something I learned. I had about 40 minutes before we recorded. I was done eating, and I was like, all right, what can I look at in this Criterion disc? And there's like a few interviews and documentaries and stuff. And there was one that was about 30 minutes that was some of the cast and some historians reminiscing about Kazan and Schulberg and their place in history. And so what I knew, because we were taught this in film school, was that Elia Kazan got blacklisted in Hollywood during the McCarthy trials. What do you call them? They're not the witch trials. That's what we call them. But, they had a more official name. But, when they were asking every single person if they had ever been a member of the Communist Party, when they were doing those hearings, the McCarthy hearings, that's what it was. Kazan was called twice. I mean, you know this. I'm sure most of our listeners know this, but just in case you're not familiar, because you might be not from the States, and so maybe this is not covered in history class. But the whole McCarthyism thing was they were just hunting down communists, and they had these hearings, and they would bring you in, and they would ask you if you had ever been a member of the Communist Party. If you said yes, then they would tell you, all right, well, now we want you to give us some names. And then whatever names you gave, they got called in, and so on and so on. And the people that were named, they would get blacklisted. That's not what happened to Kazan. What happened to Kazan was that he gave names, according to this little documentary I watched, right? The first time he didn't. But then the second time they called him, he gave up, like, I don't know, 10 people, 8 people. So I guess that spared him the wrath of McCarthy and the American government, but it instead made him persona non grata in Hollywood, because everybody was like, this motherfucker just gave up his people. And so it was really hard for him for a while to make movies after that. And of course, one of the historians was like, in a way, his movies became more interesting because I guess he was going through a lot. So I knew that. I knew the basic stuff. I knew that Elia Kazan had been somebody that had a really strong start and then basically gave up people during the McCarthy hearings and then spent the rest of his career trying to make up for it. Mm-hmm. What I didn't know was that Bob Schulberg was the same thing, but he was less of a name, and so that's why they don't really teach you about Bob Schulberg in film school. They don't bring him up, the way they bring up Elia Kazan. But he did the same thing. Obviously, Kazan is not part of the documentary, but Bob Schulberg is in the documentary. It's from like 2005, I think. He's really old, but he's still talking, and he basically defends himself. He says, look, at the time of the hearings, I thought that the Communist Party was something that was a danger in America, and so I was happy to collaborate. And yes, that gave me some enemies, giving up names, but that's just kind of, that was my decision. And then the historians and people that the new Kazan, Andy Griffith and Patricia Neal are in the documentary too, and they mentioned the same thing. They're like, yeah, he did it. He hated doing it. Kazan, he hated giving up names, but he had become very disillusioned with the Communist Party, so he thought that he was doing something good. And I think it's Patricia Neal that said, and he gave him names that they already had anyway. That's what he said. So he felt that he wasn't giving them anything new. So anyway, like all this to say that there was a lot going on in the careers of both these men by the time that they came together to make this movie. I don't remember from The Waterfront was something that they had already started working on, and then it came out after they already both had their scandals. But that is kind of a fascinating bit of backstory, because the dude clearly had very strong political beliefs. In fact, he might have they changed, right? If he was at some point believed in the Communist Party and then turn on it, and in the process somewhat torched his career and then was able to come back. And then he makes this movie. And I mean, I don't know that anybody would say that A Face in the Crowd is relevant by accident, but definitely once you know a little bit more about the backstory of Kazan, you're like, of course, it's not just that it's, intentional, but also he's gone through some shit. So it doesn't surprise me that you can feel some contempt towards the audience.
Yeah.
From him and from Schulberg, So I found it really, really interesting. And Andy Griffith, who also looks really, really old in the documentary, probably older than when we saw him in Waitress, or about the same, but he's still pretty lively. He's tried to be really nice about the whole thing. He's like, yeah, I wish he hadn't done it, but I also, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I felt really bad for him and all that stuff. He's, I guess, just trying to be kind of diplomatic, but also express some sympathy towards a guy that gave him a huge break in his career. He picked him to play the main character. Had you heard about I know you knew about the McCarthy trials, but had you heard or read anything about how it affected Hollywood?
I guess not really. That makes sense, though, just due to the time period and everything. But yeah, I guess wasn't something I was overly familiar with. I mean,
the only reason I know about it is because obviously I didn't grow up here, so. But when we went to film school, it was because, it kind of shaped how movies were made for a while and who was getting work, who wasn't getting work. The people that were blacklisted, a lot of writers were blacklisted, and so they had to either, write under an alias and then sell their work in a different way. And there's a lot of movies that have been made about that. Maybe we should cover one at some point. One that's not good is one that starred Bryan Cranston as, what was the name of the writer? I don't know, but he plays a
Is that the Trumbo movie?
Yes. Yeah. Cranston with that ridiculous mustache. Trying to play Trumbo, who's like a big name screenwriter, but yeah, he got blacklisted. And anyway, we will revisit the McCarthy years, I guess, at some point in the Contrarians. But talk to me about Andy Griffith, Alex.
Did you ever hear of anyone buying any product, beer, hair rinse, tissue, because they respect it? You gotta be loved, man. Loved.
He could be too big, but I don't think that he is. So tell me, how do you feel watching him just be at 11 for a little over 2 hours?
Yeah, I mean, it's loud. And his performance, I think, is intentionally exhausting, but it's really good. And I would never pretend like I'm an Andy Griffith historian, but I just know him as kind of the gentle dude from the TV shows that were on during the day when I was a little kid. And seeing him here and how biting and how well he executes the role of the scumbag made me mad because I wanted the best for Marcia, and he treated her like shit. Even like resorting to calling her the pet name at the end when he's trying to win her back, and calls her Marshmallow. And,
oh God, what an asshole!
Yeah, he's a real piece of shit. I thought he was really great in this. Like I said, it's a pretty scumbag performance, but I think he's really good in it.
Are you familiar with the old sitcom Alf? But the
Alien Life Force?
Alien Life Form, maybe? You know what I'm talking. The big puppet.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know.
Of course I know Alf.
It was a big
He's
hit
back
in Peru, but
in
I don't
Pog
know.
form. Yes, Alf was a hit here too.
I mean, I figure, but I don't know if it was as impactful in your childhood / teen years as it was in mine.
As far as that goes, yeah, it would have been a few years before my time, but I'm very familiar with the phenomenon that is Alf. Alien Life Form. You were right, not Force. Yeah.
Yeah, Alien Life Force is the army that Alf is part of in the sequel. Well, do you remember Alf's laugh? Because that's all I could think of whenever Andy Griffith would laugh. And he laughs a lot in this movie. Whenever Lonesome Rhodes and it's a performance, you know, you can tell it's not a genuine laughter, but he goes, and it reminded me of Alf whenever Alf thought that he had said something funny.
Each relative is a branch.
Except your grandma Dorothy. She's a nut.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. It completely redefined how I think of Andy Griffith forever now. He can't just be Matlock. Now he's Lonesome Rhodes, and good for him. I think that kind of performance can't be forgotten, can't be left in the dust. And everybody else is great too. You know, Patricia Neal gets the thankless role of having to put up with the shit, you know, until she doesn't. And then, like we said, Walter Matthau is just great being like the voice of reason. And then the other guy, he actually gets an appearance in the documentary. He looks great. Everybody else looks really old, and this dude looks still like he has 10 more movies left in him. And it's the guy that plays his eventual agent, Lonesome's, you know, agent. What's his name? Joey, maybe? Is it Joey DeSantos? Joey?
Oh yeah. Hooks up with his wife.
Yes. Hooks up with his wife and tells him, you're going to like it because I own 51% of your company.
Joey De Palma. De
Palma, yeah. Like the director. On that documentary, I learned that it was also his first movie ever. They saw him on stage and they pulled him into the movie. They told him, okay, just have fun. And that Elia Kazan was like, you don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I'll make it work. You just have fun with it. And that's why there are some moments in the movie where you can see him in the background, like really trying. And I noticed one of them that they pointed out, which is there's a moment where he is, I think it's when they're at one of the board meetings and Lonesome Rhodes starts singing. And in the background, this dude, Joey DeSantos, he starts doing the, you know, Rhodes is singing and DeSantos goes, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That was him improvising it. And that's apparently something he did throughout the entire movie where he just kept making his character memorable. And it works because he's definitely a big part of the movie, and he doesn't let all the other performances by the bigger names take it, you know, from him. He makes an impression. And the Andy Griffith also says that, you know, he hadn't made a movie before. He was a stage actor, and that Elia Kazan gave him just one piece of direction that changed everything. And that was that he told him that the cameras are this wonderful device that will capture what you're thinking and what you're feeling. As long as you feel it and you think it's strong enough, then it will come out through your eyes and the camera will capture it. And he said that Andy Griffith said that those words have guided his performances since then, right? And I was like, that's a lot of wisdom. And, you know, he was an actor's director, right? You know, he was, I want to say, and please don't crucify me if this is wrong, but I want to say Elia Kazan is one of the founders of the Actors Studio. So, you know, this was a dude that knew about acting. And even if he didn't, you know, he's a good director of actors. So I think that that's on display here in A Face in the Crowd. And I remember, I mean, you know, the performances in Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront. I mean, that's an iconic Marlon Brando performance. So that's from this director that really knew how to handle actors, how to get the best out of them. So if nothing else, maybe doesn't align with your politics 100%, but watch A Face in the Crowd for the performances. I think that we can endorse that. We can agree on that. This divided nation can agree on how awesome it is to see Andy Griffith and the supporting cast just take us for a ride. My final thing, Alex, Vitajex.
Yep.
So it's like Viagra, right?
I think that's the implication. Yes, sir.
How do you like that commercial? This long montage of Andy Griffith promoting Vitajex.
Vitajex puts a gleam in your eye. It fills you full of...
It takes a while, but yeah, I love how much production went into it. And they're like shooting this commercial in front of a live studio audience that gets in on the sing-along and whatnot.
There's a brief moment where there's some animation, right? There's like two little pigs. And then
and it turns into a wolf.
Yes. I was so confused, like in the best possible way. I didn't know what was happening. Because it doesn't quite, I mean, it fits the movie, but it's definitely not where I expected them to go. Especially because, like you said, it goes on for a while and it's just this long sequence of him promoting Vitajex. And it's very, yes, they don't call it Viagra, but all the stuff that they're showing you, it's pretty explicit for the 50s, you know? They're really going hard on the idea that it's going to enhance your performance for your lady. So I'm sure it's somewhere on YouTube. Just if you're not convinced about watching A Face in the Crowd, at least do a quick search for the Vitajex commercial, and maybe that will convince you. I think that we've done the movie justice, Alex. I haven't even thought about a star rating. Do you have a letter grading for this?
I'd probably give it a B+, but I do want to say one last thing here, as I kind of was curious based on the timing of this release vis-a-vis a professional wrestling connection. And wouldn't you believe I found one? That was pretty surprising. I never knew this before. Very, very famous, one of the probably more famous professional wrestlers of all time, by the name of Dusty Rhodes, who is the father of the top star in the WWF today, Cody Rhodes. Dusty was hell of a pro wrestler, but his main thing he was known for was the gift of gab, his promos and his rap, and how hard he could go on the mic. And he did have a bit of lonesome in him to, you could just give him anything and he could sell it. And so when I saw that Rhodes spelled it Rhodes, I was like, So I just looked up and did a little bit of research to see if there's any connection. And it appears as though, according to lore, what is this from here? Okay, so this is from Gary Hart's book. Gary Hart was a professional wrestling manager, and I couldn't necessarily find anything that Dusty contradicted it. But when Dusty first started working Fritz von Erich's territory in 1968, you of course know Fritz von Erich, Holt McCallany.
I do. Which a whole movie about his family.
Wasn't a great guy. But when Dusty first started working the territory in 1968, he was wrestling under his name, Dusty Runnels. Now, his name was Virgil Runnels. And I believe his dad called him Dusty for some reason. And so Gary Hart, upon meeting him and kind of seeing his tendencies and inclinations, suggested that he just change his ring name to Lonesome Rhodes. This would obviously be a play off Andy Griffith, and not really a play, but just a direct homage. And Dusty reportedly replied with, "I don't plan on being lonesome, so I'll stick with Dusty," but then took the Rhodes part of it. And then that was how his name came to be. Again, wrestlers are fast and loose with the truth, so take from that what you will. But I thought it was interesting. So,
if you ever met either of the Rhodeses, the wrestling Rhodeses,
well, Dusty has passed since.
Oh well, that's not going to happen. But I guess if you find yourself in an elevator with Cody Rhodes, would you ask him if his dad had watched A Face in the Crowd, or if he has watched A Face in the Crowd, if it was one of those family movie nights?
Yeah. When you were a kid, did y'all gather around? Did you get the stovetop popcorn? Shit, might as well. I don't know what the hell else I'd ask him. That wouldn't be like just some extremely niche thing. Just be like, hey, is it true your dad took his name from an Andy Griffith movie? And they'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
And now he'd be like, son of a bitch, a face in the crowd.
He would kayfabe it and be like, no, Rhodes is our real name.
Are you telling me your contempt for wrestling fans does not come from a face in the crowd? The contempt that movie has for America?
Yeah, I always say that about Trump. He's a pro wrestler. We have a pro wrestler in the White House, and Lonesome here is a hell of a pro wrestler in his own right. And he has the contempt for his audience the same way most wrestlers do. So,
you see, so would you say Lonesome Rhodes is just constantly cutting promos? Is it just like he speaks in promos and nothing else?
Pretty much, yeah. Except for that one moment where he opens up to Marcia, and it's that's like the wrestler where Randy's not brother, and he's just talking real to Evan Rachel Wood.
Andy Griffith, just a piece of meat.
I really enjoyed this, though. This would be like a B+, a 4-star affair. I thought this was really, really good stuff.
Oh, man. 4.5 stars. I'm gonna
nice.
Yeah, 4.5. It's really powerful. It's also, I mean, it can't help but be ridiculous in 2025. That ending. That's. Am I gonna blame the movie for that? No, I should blame America. That's.
Yeah.
It's never gonna happen. You know, I don't know. You can't reset how people react to these things. It'll be interesting when the movie finally gets made about the new thing, the thing that would definitely bring a public figure down, and then how it holds up 50 years later.
Yeah.
We just keep growing in cynicism. But yeah, 4.5 stars. I absolutely recommend it. Get the Criterion if you can. Alex, did you watch it on Tubi? Because I saw it was streaming there.
I did. Yes, sir.
I was happy to see that it was accessible and it wasn't just one of those Criterion movies that's nowhere to be rented. So Criterion, Tubi, the options are there. Check it out. It will change your mind about Andy Griffith. It will definitely add a new dimension to him. That's it, Alex. Enough about the unpleasantness of public figures that abuse their power. Coming up next, we're going to transition back to immigrants. I'm going to meet another family. This time, we'll know at least one person in that family. Stephen Yun comes back to the Contrarians, playing a much nicer person than the character he played in Burning.
I would hope so.
You know, you're a common sense man, Mr. Yee. Take a land folks are too scared to buy. I admire a thinking man.
Thank you.
Now, let me tell you, farming these days, you got to go big or go home. That's just how it is. It's a good time for it. Reagan's out to make sure that the farmers are happy.
Yes, no, he's the father of this immigrant family in Minari, which I'm pretty sure the movie was nominated for Best Picture. I don't remember if he was nominated for Best Actor. He might have. And I want to say that was during COVID. That was one of those ceremonies where there were social distancing at the Oscars. We'll look into it. But Minari, that's coming up next. That's on the immigrant side. Check it out. That was A Face in the Crowd. Minari comes up next. Thank you, as always, to Zoe and Corey for their work in social media and the behind-the-scenes stuff. Thank you to Jordan Cooper for the awesome intro and outro. You can check out his work at jordancooper.com. You can check out his band, Troubles Afoot, on Bandcamp. Alex, I think we're done.
Just be sure we fade out here so it doesn't pick up on us trashing our audience.
No hot mics, because you know what?
Yeah.
I will tell you this. If they remade A Face in the Crowd, he would be a podcaster, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let that thought sink in. We'll talk to you next time.